growing up, I loved baseball. I played it every day. And Ron Santo was our hero. I mean, not that Billy Williams and Ernie Banks weren't, but I identified with Ron Santo. You know, he made me want to play third base. He made me want to hit home runs. But just his exuberance for baseball, you know, was so apparent. You know, all those guys back then had an exuberance for the game. You know, WGN was televising them. It was, you know, it was black and white. We'd run home from school, catch the last inning, you know. There was a thrill to the game. And even back in the mid-'60s when they weren't winning, you know, we all wanted to watch as much as possible, go to as many games as possible, you know, and be like those guys. I mean, Santo was, I mean, he's my earliest baseball memory. The best memory I have of him is the pizzas. Right? I mean, the pizzas came out, was it, I don't know, I can't remember the year that they came out. Was it 69 or 70 or it was right in there. And I think it was the first thing that ever entered the park that wasn't a hot dog and a beer. You know, it was like, oh, there's an alternative food. Ron's got his own pizzas in the park. And they came in those little packages, you know, and you could throw them at the other guys in the stands. You could hit them in the head with a Frisbee-like toss, you know. The kick was fabulous, you know, Phil Regan, Ron, out, you know, just that whole, it was the best summer, I ever had, was the summer of 69. I mean, for a million reasons, but primarily because the Cubs were there, you know, and it was like the dream come true.
What were the bleachers like sitting in there?
Nuts. And for 16-year-olds, you know, it was like, I mean, we weren't buying beer or anything, but anybody was willing to buy a beer and give it to you. I mean, it was I don't know, it's like it's like every one of those guys, I don't know what they did, you know, come to think of it. You know, you look back and you go, well, these were all men and women. What, did none of them work? Because it was all day games, and it was all day. You know, these guys would show up at 11 in the morning, they'd leave at 4 in the afternoon. You know, there was, I guess, a few guys that had, like, night jobs, supposedly, but I doubt it. I think they just all took the summer off. I know a couple of beer vendors at Wrigley, you know, that have been there for like 30 years. And they have other jobs in the winter and this and that, but they're never leaving. They just sell beer all the time at Cubs Park because they're not going to, you know, they're not going to give that job up. The seats are too good.
What was the end of the season like, the collapse?
It was my first experience with Cub heartbreak. You know, because before that, really, they weren't there. You know, so I grow up, I mean, all those, from 59 to 68, you know, it was like, you watched all summer, you played, you tried to emulate Ron and Billy Williams, but they were never in it. You know, it never came down to that, and then all of a sudden, there they were. And, you know, they were the best team. They were the best team in baseball that year, bar none. They were the best team in baseball. So, and I think everybody knew it, and I'd have reached an age and grown up with the Cubs for 10 years by that point, so I had an appreciation. I could understand that these guys were great, and that this was our year. And, you know, the Mets, you know, I mean, I talk to the older guys, you know, and they've had their heart broken over the, you know, the 40 years, 30 or 40 years before that. So they weren't unfamiliar with that. But that was the first time that my heart got broken. It's since been broken in 84 and 89 and, you know, on and on. But, you know, the one great thing that people, I think, forget about, like, that Cubs team is how, and you're, you know, I mean, it was Ron Santo that led that, you know, is how thrilled they were with victory. You know, and for a team that, at least in my lifetime to that point, had never seen victory, it was really an exciting time, you know, because you watched these men who you were your heroes get really excited, you know, to the point where it was like a Little League game almost. You know, they were behaving like children, winning a Little League game. And, you know, I'll carry that for the rest of my life. I mean, I'll never forget that summer. I'll never forget Ron Santo running down the sidelines kicking his heels. You know, and that was when people started running out of the dugouts at the end of a game and grabbing guys at home plate and on the mound and, you know, carrying guys off and Phil Regan leading the bums out in the bleachers, you know, and people singing and people dancing. It's baseball.
That's awesome, man. Awesome. Thank you so much. Man.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thanks, Jeff.
Excellent. Excellent, man. Wow.
What I can't, you know, it's true. I mean, it was just an amazing.
I mean, it was just. You're right.
I have a great story I should have told about your dad. We used to go watch him tee off at North Shore Country Club.
Oh, really?
He used to go out and play with Jack Brickhouse. Jack Brickhouse was a member of North Shore Country Club, which is in Glenview.
Yep. Yep.
And he'd take Ronnie out there to play. And this was before 69. This was like 66, 67, 68. I was like 11 and 12. And I'd find out from one of the caddies. I knew all these guys that caddied out there. And they'd call me up, because they were all Cub fans. And they'd call me up and they'd say, Sano's playing golf with Brickhouse today. And me and my buddy, who was my next door neighbor, we get on a bus and go out to Glenview, get off, and we go stand by the caddy shack and watch his old man tee off. Because they wouldn't let us get out on the course.
Right.
But we could stand by where the caddies hang, and you could see the first tee at North Shore. And he Brickhouse was he was like a 40 handicap.
Yeah.
I mean, your old man hit the ball 300 yards.
No,
and, you know, I don't know how he putted or anything. I never got to follow him around. But I told him this story the other day when I was in the booth. Because I said, you don't understand, man. I get the word twice. That happened in one summer. And we took the buses out there because they'd go, Sano and Brickhouse are teeing off at 1 o'clock. Or whatever it was on their day off, you know? And we go out there just to get his autograph.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the other thing. I got these guys' autographs. I got your old man's autograph. But they're gone. You know, it's like, cleaning out the box into the drawer, your parents moved. Where's the shit? Where's my fucking...